I looked at them as, you know, those were the people that was doing it. And if I could just serve as an extension of what they're doing, but do it in my own way, like I never wanted to speak initially, right? Like I was trying to do other things and people would come to me and say, hey man, you need to speak. I'm like, nah, I'm cool on that, right? I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to create curriculums for the kids in my neighborhood. I was never trying to speak. And so once I started, I was at a point in my life as to where every other door had literally closed. Everything I had tried didn't work, right? I'm talking about stuff that should have worked, didn't work. And so I was like, I guess this is it, right? And I went in search of it, but I was already doing it. I had been doing it for years, but I wasn't looking at it in terms of speaking. I wasn't looking at it in terms of a career. I was looking at it in terms of, man, I'm just serving. I would go somewhere, somebody would see my arm, hey man, what happened? Football injury. No, what happened? And I'll just start telling them what happened, not trying to speak about it. I was just telling them the situation. And before I knew it, a crowd would come, people would come and say, man, you might need to look at doing that. And so when I made the decision to do it, Ash, I'm gonna just be honest with you. I'm a real practical, basic person. I said, I just wanna be obedient to every opportunity I get, right? I wanna be as great as possible with every opportunity I get. I wanna approach it and give everything I got to it. However many minutes I'm gonna be on the stage, I not only wanna learn how to speak, I wanna learn how to speak for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 13 minutes, 8 minutes, 5 minutes. I want to learn how to speak in every possible time frame and be just as powerful. If you say, Ink, give me 45 minutes, I'm going to give you 45. If you ask the average cat, give me 13 minutes, they stuck, right? I want to learn everything about it. I want to speak in 8 minutes and then be just as powerful as 60. I want to learn everything about it. That's been my mindset my whole life. But speaking to obedience, in the Bible it says, obedience is better than sacrifice, right? But the first thing we do as people, we judge the level of sacrifice without first being obedient, right? What is it going to cost me? What do I have to give up, right? What do I got to do? No, I'm just going to be obedient. Where you want me to speak? Mississippi? Where you want me to speak? In the old folks home? Where you want me to speak? Kids at a birthday party? Where you want me to speak? In education? Where you want me to speak? In sports, right? And Kat said, Ink, why are you speaking to all these different people? Why don't you just speak to sports? You play sports. No, man, I want to be diverse in my communication. I want to be just as dynamic when I speak in education as I am in sports. I want to be just as dynamic. My number one source of business isn't even sports. My number one source of business is corporate, right? It's not even sports. Just because early on, I didn't say no to any of those opportunities because I know they would push me out of my comfort zone and make me level up in terms of my communication and how I wanted to do what I was doing.
Nah, I love that. And then so, you know, as a speaker, you know, was it immediate like, yo, I'm gonna start speaking and I'm gonna make, you know, I'm gonna make 5 figures, 6 figures, I'm gonna have these $1 million deals. Was that like that out the gate? Was it?
Nah. Nah, it wasn't, you know, and the beauty of it, Ash, is I think we all know, like, the beauty is in the journey and the process, in the struggle, right? Like, when you were in banking, right, and the level that you rose to, right? I'm sure when you first started, you probably knew where you wanted to get to from an aspirational level, but the process of grinding and scrapping every single day to get there, that's where the beauty is. So when the money happens, it's just a byproduct of the service, the dedication, and the commitment that you put into it. Like, I'm gonna be real, I remember, Ash, I used to be on the road, man, driving, like all around the Southeast, right? And at the time, I probably was making $750, $500, $1,200, you know what I'm saying? And I would be riding and I would see a billboard, right? And there would be an apple on the billboard. And I'll just create a message, right? I'll be riding, I'll see another billboard. It'll be kids playing with a basketball. I'll create a message, right? I'm just driving, right? And I remember I started calculating the miles on my truck, right? And I'll never forget saying the miles on my truck, right? I gotta pass that with income. Right? And I remember when I was at 100,000 miles and I was like, all right, I'm cool. Remember I was at 200,000 miles and my truck went out about 300,000 miles. My truck went out on me, right? Then I started doing the joint with Sky Miles, right? And then I just started looking at things differently in terms of if I wanted to get to a certain level in terms of payment structure, my presentation skills had to change, right? My communication skills had to change. I had to figure out certain things. I had to have a different level of conversation. I remember, speaking of basketball, right? You talked about how you hurt yourself playing basketball. I remember being young, right? And I would get on the phone with a company and they would say, hey, Ink, we're thinking about booking you, right? Bringing you in, want you to speak. And I'm so eager, right? At the time, I'm so eager and excited. Before they can even ask me the question about what you want to talk about, I'll just go. I'm gonna talk about this, I'm gonna do this, I can't wait to do this, right? And they'll be like, all right, cool, right? But nah, we weren't really looking for that. Or some will be like, great, right? And I'll never forget, I was in a car with Eric Thomas, E.T., and we was in Michigan. And he looked at me, and we was in the back seat, and we was going to speak at the Jalen Rose Academy. And he looked at me, and he said, man, like, you remind me so much of me when I was young. He said, you just want to dunk, bro. He's like, you just want to come down fast break, go between the legs, punch on them, right? He was like, Ink, you gotta develop that game. You gotta back them down. You gotta learn to fade away, right? You gotta learn how to come off the pivot. You gotta learn how to come from a triple threat. And what he was telling me was, in terms of communication, if you want to get to a certain level, you gotta have different conversations, but also you gotta learn how to navigate and maneuver in a different way when you're on that stage and you're presenting.